So with the travel bans of 2020 and the limitations that it brought for people to being able to go around and have vacations, it brought a lot of new people to the world of RVs. So in this video, I want to go over my 5 favorite upgrades or modifications that I did to my trailer, enabling me to enjoy RVing at a higher level. And at the end, we're going to throw in one bonus one. So let's jump right into it. So number 5 on our list is lighting. One of the things that I did to my trailer is I swapped out the amber lens for a clear lens and a cool white LED bulb. And then you can see the mess of silicone, dust and dirt has stuck to it. But there is also an LED strip that goes along the bottom side of the awning. There's an aluminum channel that puts it at a 45-degree angle, and then the LED strip is attached to that. And that has improved the amount of light that is put out. Newer trailers seem to come with this type of feature, but mine's a 2011. I had to add that in myself. I also added in these floodlights. There's one there, and there's another one there. So there's 2 on each side and 2 on the back side. What that does is helps me maneuver the trailer when I'm coming into campsites at night. The LED strip that I used here, I believe it was like 16 feet long, but this awning is only 12 feet. So I had several pieces left over. So I cut the pieces smaller. This is one of the storage compartments. And I threw a light in so that I can actually see in here at night. This is one of the front compartments, and I threw a light in there as well. You can see it kind of reflecting off from the metal right at the top there. And then I stuck one on the other side. I also put a brighter bulb here, as well as putting a light in the front compartment here. And I'll be sure to include some footage of what it looks like at night. Now that it's nighttime, I can show you what the lights look like. We just have the porch lights on right now. And you can see how well it lights up the area. And now we can see in there quite well. And open up the front area. I know you can't see anything right now because it is dark, but I'm opening it up. We got this front light here. We have a light in that area, a light in here, and a light on this side. All 3 of these compartments and this front light are all on one switch. That's how I wired it up. It's just easier that way. So for the floodlights going around the outside of the trailer, this is what I did for the switch. So this is the counter right here, the door, so I can just open the door and reach in here and turn on the switches. You can see that we have rear for the middle. Obviously, it's this side of the trailer and then that side of the trailer. So those are the floodlights up there. As far as out here, there's no other lights that are on. Come to the back side of the trailer. And then on this side. So I actually did that so that it makes it easier to maneuver the trailer when I get to a campsite at night. Number 4 on the list is a way to stabilize the trailer and keep it from shaking around as we're getting in and out of it. I started with a couple of things and then added things in as I went and found the best way to do this. So I'm going to show you what I use. So this is one of the first things I got to help stabilize my trailer. This is called an X-Chock from BAL. And as you can see, it's just a kind of a scissor jack that goes in between the tires. Obviously, this is only going to work if you have 2 axles. I believe this wrench also came with it, and then you just put it on there and tighten it up, and you can flip it over to loosen it up, and it just slides in and out. However, I didn't find that this really stabilized my trailer enough for my liking. So I found another product, also by BAL, that made a huge improvement. So if you're trying to stabilize your trailer, these are what I recommend. The X-Chocks are great as far as keeping it from rolling or keeping it stabilized. But if you really want to take the shake out, these are what I recommend. These are lock arms from BAL as well, the same company. And they come in packs of 2. I have 2 packs. There's 2 on each leg up front here for the 5th wheel landing gear. And all you do is you have a bolt on here that you tighten once you get your trailer set up. You'll don't forget to loosen them when you bring the landing gear back up. But once it's set, you'll just tighten the bolt down. You don't have to tighten very much. You just snug it down. And that takes the shake out of your trailer. And the nice thing about these is you can set them up to all sorts of different configurations. So as you can see, this front one right here has an L bracket in order to attach it to the leg, but this side, I removed that L bracket because I didn't need it. So it just goes straight to the bolt here, and then it's just used a single bolt to bolt these both together. And so you can attach these in so many different ways. You can attach these to scissor jacks or the single arm that comes down. I don't know what that type of jack is called, stabilizer jack is called. But you can use these in all sorts of different configurations on all sorts of different trailers. So you could get like 2 packs and put 2 arms on one of the ones up front and then put 2 on the back, and you'd probably be set. I don't have any on the back because it's a little bit more difficult because I have a hitch back there, so I wouldn't be able to get these to attach to the scissor jacks and be able to retract them. So I just have the 4 up front here. So I want to show you how much movement the trailer has. I have all 4 arms loosened up and want to show you how much shake the trailer it actually has. And now they're tightened back up. We can see how much shake it has. And I can't hardly get it to wiggle. So if you want to take the wiggle out of your trailer, definitely need some of these lock arms from BAL. They have more expensive units for 5th wheels that would change out the whole landing gear or at least the foot pad. But that's a lot more expensive. When I bought these, I want to say that I spent like $60 a pair. So like $120 total. So that's not bad in order to take the shake out of the trailer. And those are amazing. Highly recommend them. So moving on to number 3, we have the universal hitch and rack that I put on the trailer. So this is the universal hitch that I put on here. I believe it was from Kurt. I have videos on it in the past if you want to check those out. It wasn't too bad to install. I did have to find different places to put the scissor jacks. They were on the bottom side of the hitch. I was able to make a bracket for them to locate them more on the bottom side of the bumper and the frame to get more clearance back, because I lost clearance having them on the bottom side of the hitch. And then I have a rack back here, and I would say it's not permanently attached, but I don't remove it. And I have a stabilizer in there that takes the rattle out of it. Those aren't exactly designed to put on and take off because the bolts do bend. But I put a rack back here, so I have a place to haul the generator and gas cans, and I usually put the grill back here as well. That gets it out of the bed of my truck and gets more of the weight back here. I also threw some taillights on there and wired those into the trailer. So this is number 3 on my favorite modifications that I made to my trailer. So number 2 on my list, the second favorite thing that I have done to my trailer has to do with filling the freshwater tank. So normally you fill the freshwater tank through this guy right here. You can stick your hose in there and fill it up. Mine has a 32-gallon freshwater tank, but the hose never wanted to stay. I would have to stand there and try and fill it or try and push it in there, but it would inevitably fall out, so I'd have to stand there and hold it. I tried to get something like this, which is just for cleaning out water heaters, to stick in there, and that kind of worked. It didn't work all that well, and it also slowed the water flow down, and it just made it not fun to have to fill. I also like to flush all the water lines out and fill the water heater and put some water in the black tank so that I can, I don't know, prime it, whatever you want to call it. And this method just did not make it easy. So I would end up filling the tank as well as tying the water into the trailer itself. So right here we have the freshwater inlet, and you can just hook a hose up to it and pressurize the lines and get water that way. But they're also on opposite sides of the trailer. So I'd end up having to hook the hose up over here, flush my lines out, prime my black water tank, fill the water heater, and then I'd have to go over to the other side of the trailer and fill the freshwater tank. At home, my water valve is on this side of the trailer. So my house is right here, and so the hose, I just run it over here to the hookup, and it's nice and easy. But then I'd have to run it around the trailer to the other side to fill the fresh water. So this is where my modification came into. So what I decided to do was add in this access door, and I tapped off from the fresh water lines in the trailer. So if I were to open that valve right now, the water pump would actually just pump water through and it would go back into the freshwater tank. So what I can do when I hook up to the house is I can clean out all the lines and flush them, do all my priming, and then once I do that, I can come over here, open this ball valve, and via that T, it just fills the freshwater tank. Nice and easy, and all I got to do is just open that ball valve, let it fill. I can go and do other things while it's filling, and don't even really have to worry about it. And once it's full, it'll start leaking out through these 2 holes here, which is not the end of the world. This has made it a lot more streamlined and a million times easier when I am prepping to go on a trip. So now for my number 1 favorite upgrade that I did to my trailer. Now this is not just one component, this is going to be a series of components that I'm going to show you. But when I go camping, I like to watch movies and play Nintendo Switch or N64, whatever. I like to play video games, watch movies when I go camping. May consider that not camping, but you do you, I do me. If you have a problem with that, leave a comment below. But that's what I like to do. So I need a source of power. And in previous years, I've been running a generator, and whenever I want to use that stuff, I have to run the generator. So the generator's running constantly, which is kind of noisy and obnoxious and not great for the environment if you want to throw that in there. So this upgrade is my solar upgrade. So I do have some panels that are on top of the trailer, but you can see back behind me that the trailer is actually in the shade. So I have portable solar panels that I run out away from the trailer. I have about a 100-foot extension cord. It's not stretched all the way out, but it's stretched away from the trailer into the sun so that I can get some power and charge my batteries. So here's my solar setup out here. I have 3 flexible Renogy panels, and then I have a Dokio panel. The Dokio's rated at 200 watts, and each one of these Renegys are rated for 100 watts. So that's a total of 500 watts that are out here collecting sun throughout the day. I have them positioned at different angles. So this one I get more of the morning sunlight, that one the afternoon, and then this one, these two are pretty much like all day panels. So these kind of face south. This one's kind of face southeast, and then that one's face to the west. So we got the solar portion of it, and you can see the cord that I run. It's a 10 gauge cord. And then they plug into the trailer here. The one on the right is your 120 volt AC, so like the generator or shore power. And then on the left is the solar input. So the next part of the system is 2 batteries. I have 2, I believe they're 180 amp hour batteries. So these are VMAX AGM batteries, and I want to say that they are 180 amp hours each, and there is 2 of them. These are quite heavy. They're like 90 pounds a piece. I would love to go with a lithium ion setup from like Battleborn, but that would be $1,800 for 2 100 amp hour batteries, which is disgusting. I believe those VMAX batteries, when I bought them, I think they were like $360 a piece several years ago. So $1,800 for the 2 of them is just absolutely insane. So the next parts of this system are inside the trailer here. We got an access cover or one that I turned into an access cover. Put some knobs and just some latches here that I can just pop the cover off. And now we can show you a couple more of the components. So we got a couple of breakers here to separate everything. This one comes off from the panels on the roof. Then this one comes from the wiring that comes in from the side. And this is just the power between the charge controller and the main panel, it's on this side. So this is an MPPT charge controller. And if you don't know the difference, there's a PWM and an MPPT. To make things simple, MPPT is going to be better and more efficient. You're going to be able to utilize more of the electricity that the panels are putting out. So if you can afford it, go with the MPPT. A PWM charge controller is cheaper, but this is better. Below that, we have an inverter. I believe this is a 600 watt inverter. Yeah, this is a 600 watt inverter. I could have gone with something smaller. I don't need one that big. Or the reason I got a 600 watt inverter was that the 600 watt inverter came with a switch right here. So this is a remote switch that I installed on the side. So I don't have to take the cover off in order to turn the inverter on. So all I got to do is just hit the switch, turn the inverter on, and we're good to go. And then up here we have the charge controller module. I can control some of the features of the MPPT charge controller. It gives me some functionality. And right now, there's not that much of a load, and the batteries are pretty full. But you can see that the panels are bringing 18.6 watts, 3.2 amps. And this is what an MPPT charge controller does. So since the voltage is higher than the batteries, an MPPT charge controller converts those volts into amps. So you can see that it's lower volts, higher amps going into the batteries. What a PWM controller would do is it would dump those extra volts, and so it'd say 3.1 right here, and then it would just drop that, and so it would just be throwing electricity away. And this one does not do that. That's why the MPPT charge controller is superior, but it also makes them more expensive. Now, with the inverter, we also have to have a way to plug our stuff into the inverter. The inverter itself has 2 outlets on it, but I don't want to run a cord down there. I mean, that would just be annoying having to plug stuff in down to the inverter. So I wired in another outlet. This I cut into a stud here, so that's why it looks all ugly. But I added this in another outlet in, and it's marked inverter. So there's one right here. This is basically the entertainment center. This is where the TV goes. But I also installed some outlets over here. This is the dining room table, and the outlet on the right. That one is the inverter outlet. The one in the middle is just a 12-volt USB, and then the one on the left is a 120-volt outlet. Originally, there was no outlet here at the table, or at least right there. It's buried down below it, down in there, which was not the most convenient. So that was definitely a good addition. And then on the outside here, this outlet was already installed on the trailer, but I added another outlet that is strictly for the inverter. So that one is wired into the inverter so that I can have power on the outside. And as you can see, we got an extension cord hooked up to it, running over to the TV. So another reason why the solar setup and the inverter are my favorite upgrades that I did to the trailer is because I exclusively boondock. If you don't know what boondocking is, it means I am not at a established campsite. I'm not at an RV park or anything like that. I'm just off in the middle of nowhere. That's considered boondocking. So I don't have access to electricity or plumbing or anything like that. So that's why the solar upgrade or modification is my favorite upgrade that I have done. So yeah, there's a few components that make up the solar setup, the inverter, the charge controller, the batteries, but that is by far my favorite upgrade that I have done to my trailer, because I haven't even needed to run the generator on this trip. I ran it last night just to run it and get some of the gas cycled through it, but I have not needed it because of this setup. So this was definitely my favorite upgrade. And so like I said at the beginning of the video, there's going to be one bonus upgrade. And I'm kind of just counting it as like a bonus upgrade because this doesn't apply to everybody, because you don't all have fifth wheels. I'm sure a lot of you just have regular travel trailers that that hook up to the hitch on the back of your truck, but mine's a fifth wheel. So that's why I'm considering this a bonus upgrade. And that upgrade is the Reese Goose Box. If you're familiar with fifth wheels, then normally you would have a big old hitch in the bed of your truck that it would hook up to, and you either leave that hitch in the bed of your truck all the time, or you got to lug it in and out. With this setup, I do not have to do that. I have a gooseneck hitch that I installed on my Tacoma, so that all I have to do is drop a ball into the hole, or I guess there's a cover there. So I take the cover out, drop the ball into the hole, and I am good. It keeps things really streamlined, reduces the amount of weight, and makes a smoother ride, because inside this hitch is an airbag, which makes the ride smoother, and it is amazing. So this is another one of my favorite upgrades, but I consider it a bonus because not everybody has a fifth wheel trailer, whereas all of these other upgrades you could do to your travel trailer, whether you have a fifth wheel or a travel trailer, and it would apply to you. So that does it for my favorite upgrades to my trailer. If you have anything else that you liked that you've done to your trailer, leave a comment in the comment section below, or let us know which one was your favorite. Which one do you want to do? So I guess that's it for this video, and enjoy camping and do it however you want to do it. And we'll catch you on the next one. See ya.